America was built on racism, fueled by fear and sustained by white supremacy. You've exposed it all. The masks are off. The polite racism, the fake allyship, the colorblind lies, it's all gone. Now we see it raw and unfiltered.
Thomas Rousseau. He gave a speech in front of the World War I Museum where he talked about how the United States is a white nation made for white people and they need to reclaim America. And these people are serious, especially under this administration.
I am convinced that if you could tell the racists that only white people would get food stamps and universal health care and universal basic income, they would all vote for it. The only reason they don't want to vote for it is because they're afraid that black people and people of color might get it.
Savannah, why do you make everything about race? Like, why are you always talking about race? Like, not everything is about race. Everything is about race! It is! Everything is! Every single part of our society traces back to racism.
Southern elites needed a way to get free labor, and they invented a system called convict leasing. It was a system where the state would arrest somebody, usually a black man. Instead of housing them at the penitentiary, they'd send them to these prison farms. People did not last very long. Many of them died within days, weeks, or months of actually arriving there. So fast forward into the mid-2000s, and they were breaking ground for this new school building in Sugar Land, and lo and behold, one of the guys saw a bone sticking up out of the ground. They found a mass grave with 95 sets of remains, and it turned out that these people had been imprisoned at the Imperial Farm.
You ever notice how every time black folks start making just a little progress, the system moves to shut it down? It's like clockwork. If they even think we might benefit from something, even a little, they'll tear the whole thing down, even if it hurts their own people. That's not politics. That's fear. That's hate. That's white supremacy doing exactly what it was built to do. This country was never designed for us. From the very beginning, it was built on our backs, but never meant to include us. And now, when we speak up, when we organize, when we demand more, they call us the problem. And now you got people like Donald Trump and made-up committees like Doge pushing messages that don't just divide us. They fuel the same fear that built this country in the first place. A fear of truth, a fear of justice, a fear of us. The smallest group in the country, but the loudest voice for change. I'm about to show you some real and raw footage that will show you exactly why America is so afraid. Let's get into it.
Okay, I want to take a moment to say thank you to Donald Trump, not out of praise, but out of truth. Because while you rip through every part of this government, tearing down justice, equality, and fairness under the fake excuse of fighting DEI fraud, what you're really doing is confirming what black folks have been saying for generations. America was built on racism, fueled by fear and sustained by white supremacy. You've exposed it all. The masks are off. The polite racism, the fake allyship, the colorblind lies, it's all gone. Now we see it raw and unfiltered. You're not just targeting policy, you're targeting people. Black people, brown people, marginalized communities. And the wild part, we make up the smallest portion of this country, yet somehow we are the biggest threat to the lie that white supremacy built. That should tell you everything. You're afraid not of violence, not of replacement, but of the power we hold even when we have nothing. You see the way our culture, our brilliance, our resilience, our excellence continues to shape this country, even when it tries to erase us. Donald Trump is just the loudest version of a system that's always been in place. He is the living, breathing proof that this country was never designed with us in mind. And yet, we continue to define it. So thank you, Donald, for exposing what so many tried to deny, for showing the world that the fear of black greatness is real, for proving that racism isn't in our imagination, it's in the fabric of this nation. And to my people, we don't have to fight to prove our worth. He's doing that for us. All we have to do is stand firm, stay awake, and know that the truth is finally louder than the lie. We are not broken. We are not the problem. We are the evidence of the power that this country can contain. Let that truth ring louder than its hate.
Is anyone else convinced that the only reason we can't have good social safety programs in the United States, like a good social healthcare system and a good safety net system, is because of the bunch of white people who are racist? And here's what I mean. I am convinced that if you could tell the racists that only white people would get food stamps and universal healthcare and universal basic income, they would all vote for it. The only reason they don't want to vote for it is because they're afraid that black people and people of color might get it. And I can prove it. Look at back in the day, there used to be public pools in almost every town in the South. No matter how big or small the town was, they used to have a public pool. And then after the Civil Rights Act, they had to start letting people of color into their public pools. And white people decided they would rather fill the pools with concrete and let nobody swim than have to swim with black people. And I'm convinced the same thing happens with our social safety net. These people would rather suffer themselves than help black people too. I am so convinced this is why this country is so fucked.
Yeah, man, everything's racist. Think about it. Your streets are named after prominent racists in your city, state, or throughout history. Washington, Jackson, Jefferson, Lee, all slaveholders, all racists. Your schools, elementary, middle, and high school, are named after prominent members of your community who are probably racists. Take mine, for example. My middle school was named after Forrest Comer White, a white supremacist who tried to commit murder-suicide by airplane, and our school mascot was a Confederate rebel. Even your institutions of higher learning have their roots in racism. Harvard, Yale, and Brigham Young University is named after racist Brigham Young, who tried to eradicate Native Americans by poisoning them. Traffic, racism. Instead of building highways in the most efficient ways, they ran them specifically through black and brown neighborhoods, and now we have traffic because of that. Seasonal allergies, racism. It's the beautification of the white parts of town with only male trees that continuously pop off pollen with no female trees to absorb them. That's why you have seasonal allergies. Racism. Tipping, racism. White store owners didn't want to pay black employees anything, so they said, if your service is good, leave it up to the customer to pay you, and that's how we got tipping. Student loans, racism. College used to be free. That is until black people started going to college, and then now you have to pay, and if you can't pay, you take out a student loan. The prohibition on cannabis, racism. You see, it used to be legal. That is until white people wanted to demonize Mexicans, so they renamed cannabis marijuana, spelled with an H, to sound like Tijuana, so they could justify the mistreatment of Mexican people. That Ford truck you drive? Racism. Henry Ford was so racist that Hitler had a picture of him at his desk. He was inspired by the efficiency of his assembly line and used that efficiency to efficiently kill more people. He also got the inspiration for his gas chambers from America's gassing and delousing of Mexican migrants at the border. Argentina is 96% white because of racism. Mexico is known as a mestizo country because of racism. And brown people all around the world are bleaching their skin because of racism's twin sister, colorism. Cancer rates in the South? Racism. You see, they like to build petrochemical plants near black and brown neighborhoods, thus giving us higher rates of cancer than those around us. Matter of fact, right here in Louisiana, Mossville, Louisiana, used to be a thriving black town founded by black people, but it was later bought out by a petrochemical plant and bulldozed. Racism. It affects every part of our daily lives, and until we acknowledge that, we can't change it, because we can't change what we refuse to acknowledge. And that's why racism continues to thrive in this country, because we've raised generations of people to be willfully ignorant of it.
Savannah, why do you make everything about race? Like, why are you always talking about race? Like, not everything is about race. Everything is about race! It is! Everything is! Every single part of our society traces back to racism. Everything. The damn ice cream truck song is racist. The reason we have credit scores and student loans is because they did not want black people to live next to them and go to school. Everything is encapsulated in the fact that they wanted black people to fail. Our society could be so much more progressive than it is now. Spent 400 years trying to keep minorities down, that we have not progressed in technology, in society, in anything. This country has spent so much time making sure that we don't surpass white people that it's willing to cut its leg off during the sack race over and over and over and over again. And that's why we're in the fucking predicament that we're in now. It's not about anything else but the fact that they do not want minorities to thrive. That is what it's been about since day fucking one, when they got to this fucking land. They took it away from people who were already here and didn't stop doing it. I understand that sometimes we want to ha-ha, hee-hee, and live life and forget. But I'm always going to bring it up. If you don't want to hear it, don't talk to me. But I'm always going to talk about racism because it makes me fucking angry. You don't get to spend 400 plus years mistreating people based off of their skin tone alone. It caused ripples in generations. You haven't even began to try to undo it. But you want to get mad at me because every time I talk about racism, you get annoyed. Because every time I bring up something, oh, it's because this, it's because of racism, you get mad. Shut the f*** up.
Did you see this video out of Kansas City, Missouri, where white nationalists, Patriot Front, are marching down the street and they are confronted by local residents? Listen to this.
You're not going to invade our women's privacy. Privacy? You're in public, bro. Why do you need to be private I thought you'd be proud of your opinion. Why is that private? Hey, have a good one, guys. Thanks for getting the fuck out of here. Please don't return. Sir, you want my name? Yeah, what's your name, bud? Thomas Ryan Rousseau. Thanks, Thomas. I bet you're trying to get famous with Trump for this. What? You gonna run for office now? What? You gonna run for office now? Are you from here? All right, cool. Get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? I got people from the whole country here. That's how many it takes to get a couple hundred? The whole country. I don't see anything. That's embarrassing. Hey, have fun in the hot box, guys.
First of all, thank you to the people of Kansas City who stood up to this. Because the police didn't do anything. They saw this and made no stops and no arrests. Now, this was all led by the guy you saw in the video, Thomas Rousseau. He gave a speech in front of the World War I Museum where he talked about how the United States is a white nation made for white people and they need to reclaim America. And these people are serious, especially under this administration. Those people have a training center in Tennessee. They train people on how to use weapons and hand-to-hand combat. That's how he was able to get 100 people from across the country. These are all people who wholeheartedly believe in the white supremacist ideology, and they're getting ready to take it further, especially under this administration.
My God, today. It's Sunday, you glorious motherfuckers. And remember, I don't celebrate holidays, so no happy Easters. We got that out the way. It's a boundary, and I owe you no explanation. But let's get into it, shall we? I was scrolling these TikTok streets, and I came across a video, and I'm going to share it with you. Right, great. Every time I say, or we say, black folk, not folk who just happen to be black, not the tokens that Nick Fuentes described. No. Every time black folk tell y'all in live spaces that everything in the United States of America is rooted in racism because the foundation of the United States of America is racism. You digging what I'm putting down? Great. Pause. We know what this is, right? Imperial sugar. Been around since 1843. Okay, hold on. Here's the history of imperial sugar. Now, I want you to pay specific attention to where it says, while the company's original plant in Sugar Land, Texas is no longer in operation, it continues to operate in other states. Imperial Sugar Company's corporate headquarters are still located in Sugar Land, Texas. This is going to be important. Pause. I need y'all to buckle up, Buttercup. I'm going to share a video with you that I just learned. And I am a native goddamn Texan, and I did not know this. So this is education for me as well as y'all. Pause, my babies.
There's a town in Texas called Sugarland. There was some land that was owned by the Fort Bend, Texas School District. Before it was owned by the school district, it was the Texas Central State Prison. But before it was that, it was called Imperial Farm, work farm for convict laborers. But before it was that, it was a sugar plantation. All of the labor was provided by slave labor. Sugarcane harvesting and milling is backbreaking and dangerous work. But after the Civil War, the slaves were freed. The Southern elites needed a way to get free labor, and they invented a system called convict leasing. It was a system where the state would arrest somebody, usually a black man. Instead of housing them at the penitentiary, they'd send them to these prison farms. People did not last very long. Many of them died within days, weeks, or months of actually arriving there. So fast forward into the mid-2000s, and they were breaking ground for this new school building in Sugarland, and lo and behold, one of the guys saw a bone sticking up out of the ground. They found a mass grave with 95 sets of remains, and it turned out that these people had been imprisoned at the Imperial Farm. They called it the Imperial Farm because it was owned by the Imperial Sugar Company, which is still in existence and is now a billion-dollar public company.
Now they got me to thinking, what school was built on that ground that was broken in 2000 that used to be a burial site for enslaved black folk? Pause yet again, Bouquet. It's the goddamn University of Houston at Sugarland. It was built on the very ground where our people lost their fucking lives harvesting goddamn sugar cane to make imperial sugar. And just to give you an idea, this is the racial demographic of the population in Sugarland. Great. So when I say, and other black folks say, everything in the United States of America is based on race and racism, because the foundation of the United States of America is racism, we know what the fuck we talking about.
What you just saw is not new. It's not surprising. And for a lot of us, it's not even shocking anymore. Because truthfully, this country has been showing us who it is since day one. America has always been a place that protects white advantage, not by accident, but by design. From the laws written on paper to the silent ones enforced in people's minds, whiteness has never just been a skin tone. It's been a legal status. It's been a pass, a promise, an inheritance. It meant land. It meant citizenship. It meant protection under the law. It meant education. It meant being able to walk through the world without being seen as a threat. And every time black folks have asked for even a fraction of those things, every time we've reached for a little more freedom, a little more fairness, the system pushes back, hard. Because here's the truth. Most white Americans aren't afraid of black freedom. They're afraid of what black freedom represents. They're afraid of the dismantling of a social order that's given them guaranteed protection, privilege, and power for generations. They're afraid of having to share what was never meant to be shared. They're afraid of losing control of a system that was built legally, violently, and economically to keep us on the bottom. You see, the structure of this country didn't just happen. It was engineered. After the Civil War, when slavery was supposed to be over, they found another way to keep us chained. That system was called convict leasing. Let me break that down. Convict leasing was legalized slavery by another name. After the 13th Amendment was passed, the one that ended slavery, it left one huge loophole. It said slavery was abolished, except as punishment for a crime. So guess what they did? They made sure we were seen as criminals. Black people, mostly men, but also women and even children, were arrested by the thousands for nothing, for vagrancy, for loitering, for talking too loud, for looking suspicious, for not having a job in a system that refused to hire us. Most of the time, the charges were completely made up. No trials, no real justice, just a stamp, a sentence, and a sale. States would then lease these men out to private companies, railroads, coal mines, steel plants, cotton farms, for profit. They were worked in brutal, inhuman conditions. No food, no pay, no rights, no rest. If you died, they buried you in an unmarked grave and brought in the next man. This wasn't just a policy. It was a death sentence. And it was profitable for governments, for corporations, and for white landowners who no longer had to buy slaves. Now they could just rent black life by the day. We talk about slavery, but convict leasing was just as violent, just as dehumanizing, and just as systemic. In places like Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, black men were worked to death. Literally, thousands of our ancestors died on prison grounds, buried with no name, no justice, no memory. They were arrested under false accusations, thrown into a legal system that was built to erase them, and used to build the economy that still denies us today. And that same system is still alive. Mass incarceration, police brutality, economic inequality, school-to-prison pipelines, voting restrictions, redlining, underfunded schools, over-policed neighborhoods. It's all a continuation of the same thing, just dressed up in different language. And that's why we can't ignore it. That's why we can't be quiet about it. That's why videos like this exist. Because if you're black in America, you carry the weight of history with you, whether you know it or not. You walk on land paved by people who never got free. You ride highways built by prisoners who never saw daylight. You sit in classrooms that once refused to even acknowledge your humanity. So when I say America is afraid of us, I don't mean us as individuals. I mean us as a movement. I mean us as a mirror. Because when we fight for justice, we force this country to face its reflection, and that scares the hell out of it. But the truth is, we've always been stronger than the systems meant to break us. We've always turned pain into power and silence into sound. Our joy is resistance. Our survival is revolutionary. They tried to bury us, in prisons, in poverty, in policy, but we are still here, still rising, still telling the truth. So if you made it to the end of this video, don't just click away. Don't just move on. Ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in? One that keeps repeating this cycle, or one where we finally break it? Educate yourself. Speak up. Share this. And don't be afraid to see the system for what it really is, because only then can we start to tear it down and build something better for our ancestors, for our children, for us. Drop a comment below if this moved you. Like and share if you believe the truth needs to be heard. And don't forget to subscribe, because this isn't the last time we're speaking truth to power. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.